This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
This is Tamra Judge from Two Teas in a Pod with Teddy Mellencamp and Tamra Judge. Can we take a moment to talk about Chewy? I get everything for rugby from Chewy. His food, the treats, I'm constantly reordering, the toys he destroys in minutes, even his supplements. And it always shows up fast. Chewy also handles the serious stuff, prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. Their 24/7 customer service actually understands dog moms like me and cat moms, bird moms, reptile moms, all of us. And with Chewy's 1-year satisfaction guarantee, trying something new is never stressful. For life with pets, the answer is Chewy. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping at chewpanions.chewy.com/teapod.
Joy is essential and it's also elusive. But now there's a new and exciting way to start your journey toward a more joyful existence. Joy 101. It's a new podcast hosted by me, Hoda Kotb. If you're craving inspiration, support, and useful tools to maximize your joy, tune into these candid, uplifting, and moving on-air chats. Listen to Joy 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, everybody. Before we get going today, we wanted to acknowledge ourselves and you, right?
That's right. Do-do-do-do. Chuck, what episode is this?
This is episode number 1500.
Isn't that nuts?
It's nuts.
Up to this moment, I've just been thinking of episode 1500, but when you say it like that, it just seems like a mind-boggling number.
It is mind-boggling, and many thanks are in order. First of all, to Jill Hurley, our Minister of Stats, for pointing this out, because we would have never known, right?
Yeah, definitely. We got to thank Jerry, of course, and also Dave, Max, Matt, Noel, all the producers who've helped us along the way, right?
Yeah, and of course, Ed and Livia and Dave Ruse, our intrepid writers. Is that the right word?
They're intrepid for sure. They have no trepidation.
That's right. And we're acknowledging the Stuff You Should Know Army as well and all the listeners, because there's no way we would have gotten to episode 1500, let alone 500, had no one ever listened to begin with. And, we're super lucky to have this job that we continue to be able to do, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Of course, we wouldn't have gotten anywhere without you guys listening out there. And then, of course, Chuck, last but not least, we got to thank our families. Like Yumi and Emily, Momo, Ruby, the whole gang.
Yeah, of course. Everyone provides us a lot of support, and it's just pretty amazing. The number 1500 is a weird number to look at, and we're not going anywhere anytime soon, so don't think this is a sign-off, but we just wanted to acknowledge it and say big thanks to everybody.
Yeah, so thanks, everybody, and we'll just stop now and start the episode. How about that?
That sounds great.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know, a production of iHeartRadio.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast, or should I say pancast. I'm Josh, there's Chuck. It's just the two of us, but I'm excited about this one enough that I've basically birthed a Jerry.
Oh, I'm not even sure what that means.
Just don't think about it too much.
Okay. We're talking about breakfast, and I could name about a third of the websites on the internet for this, because if you want to learn about breakfast, there are a lot of websites that want to teach you about it.
It's tailor-made for the internet. You know, there's nostalgia, there's tastiness, there's history. It's got everything.
It does. But How Stuff Works, our old colleagues, of course, were involved in Smithsonian Mag and the Kitchen Project and the Breakfast Shop in Chicago Waffles. Great website, by the way.
Yeah.
The Daily Meal. There were a bunch of websites where we curated this wonderful, and this is just probably a part one, like there are so many breakfast items with rich histories that we're not going over today. So I feel like we could do another one of these later.
Have we ever done one on breakfast cereals specifically? Because that seems like something we could spend an hour saying like, oh, do you remember, do you remember Frankenberry?
Well, we haven't, but we should.
Okay.
Yes, let's add that to the list.
That sounds fun. So yeah, we're just going to do kind of just a select few today. Maybe some that you're not going to be very surprised at. And as a matter of fact, I'll be surprised if anybody's surprised at any of these selections. But they're still good nonetheless. But before we get to that, we should probably talk about where the idea of breakfast comes from, because it's just such an integral part, or it once was such an integral part of people's lives that you just kind of took it for granted, right?
Yeah, and it's really interesting. The How Stuff Works article points out that like what we consider breakfast foods, like there's so many different things that go into what made that happen, and none of them are the same. Like sometimes it's religion, sometimes it's technology, sometimes it's just what was available, sometimes it's cultural, like regional norms, immigration plays a part. It's just super interesting, I think. But breakfast as a whole is, it's something that people have always eaten.
Sure.
That first meal of the day, depending on where we are in the world and where we are in history, the importance of breakfast is a little bit different. It's like it's not quite the same thing as it was, hundreds or thousands of years ago, though.
No, not at all. And you can make a really strong case that, at least in the States, it's not what it was 30 or 40 years ago,
Yeah, good point.
But the idea of breakfast, if you hadn't figured it out by now at this point in your life, it's break and fast, like you're breaking your fast put together. And I always thought it just had to do with, you woke up, you hadn't eaten since the day before.
Just makes sense.
You've been fasting whether you wanted to or not, because you can't really eat while you sleep. I've tried. And so you're breaking that fast. But apparently it's much more religious than that, because people used to fast until church when they would get the Eucharist or the communion wafer. And after that, they could, go whole hog on some meals. And that was their breakfast. But it would come later in the morning, if not in the afternoon.
Yeah, and I think as far as seeing that word written down, they trace it to 15th century. And that's in the English language, but the same word apparently can mean different things, or used to mean different things in different countries. Anything from a sort of a smallish lunch if you're in France, to a lighter supper in Italian. And they, like I said, depending on where you were and when you were, there would be different. And we'll see as we go on, you would eat like things that you would consider really weird now, like unless you're going to a Sunday brunch or a Saturday brunch and having like a Bloody Mary or something, the idea of drinking for breakfast,
right,
alcohol seems really weird, but that used to happen. They used to drink, hard ciders and sort of low ABV beers, all the way up until like the mid 19th century.
I saw it can be anywhere between the 17th and the 19th century, but that went on for millennia. That's just what people did at breakfast. I love that. They drank booze every day. I think kids did as well, if I'm not mistaken. Sure. I saw somewhere. But then in addition to like drinking booze, there would also be stuff that you'd be like fish for breakfast, soup for breakfast. And it seems odd to those of us in the West who are, accustomed to that specific Western kind of breakfast. But that's still the case in some places today, especially Asia. Like in Japan, they eat like fish and soup and ramen and stuff like that for breakfast. Like their breakfast looks just like their lunch or their dinner.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So the idea of breakfast, as we understand it, isn't like global by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. So we're taking this from sort of a North American Eurocentric point of view.
Yeah, you could almost title this like how the Western breakfast evolved,
Maybe I will.
Okay. I dare you, Chuck.
Game on. So this is a little bit of a rehash, but I just noticed we're saying breakfast words all over the place, like hash.
Yeah.
See, that's one we could put on the next one.
Corned beef hash?
Just breakfast hash. We're not going to cover omelets. We're not going to cover muffins.
Okay.
Like I think there's a whole part two in the making.
Okay, I love it.
But bacon and eggs, it seems like eggs have been eaten sort of since time in memoriam for breakfast. I didn't see anywhere exactly why. My hunch is that you get that egg out of the chicken in the morning.
Sure.
And maybe it just goes right onto the plate.
You pick it up by its neck and shake it until that egg falls out.
I think they lay eggs in the morning, right?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Now I'm doubting myself because I'm kind of going off the dome here.
I don't remember if there's like a specific time or not, but maybe if they laid it overnight or something like that, when you got up in the morning, there was an egg. Who knows?
Oh, that's true. That makes good sense.
Yeah.
But the whole bacon thing we talked about in our, if I do say so myself, our great, maybe our greatest live episode of all time on Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud and PR mastermind. Really good episode if you haven't listened to that one. But the bacon and like a big, huge, hearty breakfast wasn't really the thing in America at the time. And this was in, the 1920s and 1930s.
Yeah, and even before then. And from what I can tell, breakfast more resembled breakfast today. Like if you ate anything, it was really quick, convenient. You had to be out the door. And that was a big result of industrialization and urbanization.
Oh, yeah.
Like you didn't go work in the fields and then come in and have a big spread for breakfast a couple hours after you woke up and started working. Like you were away from your house and you had to be out of your house fairly quickly. So breakfast, I think, just kind of went the way of disco.
Before disco.
Right.
But the Beech Nut Packaging Company in the 1920s, they sold a lot of stuff, but one of the things they sold was bacon. And bacon just wasn't something that was selling as much. It wasn't sort of the staple item that you would think of today. People certainly ate it, but it wasn't a breakfast item. So they got Bernays on board, and they mounted a whole campaign, a big PR campaign to basically say, hey, it's first thing in the morning. You need to really just load up on tons of food. And bacon should be a part of your stable diet, and it goes great with eggs. And they're correct.
Yeah, they advertise that you lose energy overnight, so you need to fill up on a big breakfast. And the idea of like breakfast being the most important meal of the day comes from that.
Yeah.
Advertising. And we'll see that a lot of the breakfast, as we recognize it, came from advertising and a company who said, we got a bunch of stuff we want to dump. Let's just completely change the way Americans live and think.
Yeah. What's your deal with breakfast? Do you like breakfast?
I have changed my eating habits in the last few months, and so I've started eating breakfast again, but there was a very long stretch where I didn't eat anything until 11 or noon.
That's my deal usually.
Yeah. And I'm not quite sure. I've been told like that's not good at all for your body. Not that like breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but just going hours when you're hungry and not giving your body food might not be the best thing for it. So I've started to kind of eat earlier and earlier.
Interesting, because that reminds me I want to do one on, what's the fasting trend called now these days? The
intermittent fasting?
Yeah, intermittent fasting, which is all about not eating breakfast.
Well, we did a whole one on fasting, and there's no way we didn't talk about intermittent fasting, is there?
I don't know. It seems, I don't know. I think there's something there for a full one, but
okay.
My deal with breakfast is I love breakfast. I just don't ever eat breakfast. Like breakfast is a sort of a treat meal. And when I think of like a big breakfast, it's like an out to eat thing on vacation kind of thing. And but I love everything about breakfast. Like maybe my favorite meal as far as like a plate of hash browns and eggs and bacon and sausage and waffles and pancakes and muffins and bagels and all that deliciousness. I love all of that stuff, but you can't eat like that.
No, that's why it does seem to be a vacation thing, and that's why they have breakfast buffets when you go on vacation for that very reason,
But we are about to talk about one of my favorite breakfast items, especially obviously when I go to New York City and I get I bring my extra large Ziplocs and I come home with a dozen bagels from Essa Bagel, my favorite one. They're huge. There's no way you can eat a full one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you split it in half and you eat like a half a bagel. I mean, they're enormous.
That sounds like a wager to me.
I mean, you could, but that's a lot of bread.
You'd just be suffering toward the end.
But a bagel, if you don't know, is they describe it as a kind of roll. But it's a bakery item. It's yeast risen. It's dough that's shaped by hand and in the form of a ring. The very key part about being a real bagel is you boil it before you bake it. And it's very chewy in the middle, but if you do it right, it's you shouldn't even need to toast it. I do like mine toasted because I like the inside toasty, but very crispy and browned on the outside after you boil and bake it.
How do you eat your bagels?
Well, I used to just eat butter before I knew anything about life. But
That's
now,
still good, though. That's still
Sure.
very good. It's like that kind of plain, simple taste can be really good.
No, I like it. I like nothing but everything bagels. It's the only bagel for me. But now I do sour cream. I prefer not whipped. I prefer just the regular sour cream.
Oh, yeah?
But I will have it whipped. And then I really love the smoked salmon on top now.
Yes. Okay. You finally got to the important part.
And the everything bagel shake. I add that on top as well.
Wow. So let me ask you this. Do you ever treat yourself and get a red onion, carve up a few like ultra thin slices and put some capers on top?
I'm not into capers and onion.
Oh, well, then definitely avoid that. But if you were into capers and onion, I would strongly recommend doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very classic bagel, I'm about to say recipe, but, you know, what would you call that? An assemblage?
I think that's perfect for it. But then one last thing about that, Chuck. So I'm glad you said smoked salmon because that's my preference too. And for a very long time, that's all I ate. And I wasn't aware that there was a difference between lox and smoked salmon until I ordered a bagel with cream cheese and lox out and ate it. And I was like, puh, what is wrong with this salmon? And it turns out lox is different. Lox is entirely salt cured. So it's one of the saltiest things you'll ever eat in your life.
Yeah.
Whereas smoked salmon is also salt cured, but they go lighter on the salt and it's heavier on the smoke flavor. It's way better in my opinion.
Yeah, and the everything bagel is already pretty salty, so that would be what Emily would call a salt lick.
Right. So we don't even know actually where the word bagel came from. It's kind of a weird word if you think about it, but there's some pretty good contenders. Yiddish has one called begen, which means to bend. Makes sense.
Okay.
The Germans, our friends in Germany, they have a word for bracelet that sounds familiar, bracelet or ring, Bügel.
Not bad.
That's awfully close if you ask me. But the one that I always thought it was, because I learned it from Uncle John's Bathroom Reader, is that it's an Austrian term for stirrup, Bügel, because the stirrup is supposedly what the bagel was originally shaped after, at least according to Gordon Javna.
I'm going to go with that one too. That one spoke to me.
Yeah. So that's the one we're going to go with. That's the official SYSK choice for where the word bagel came from.
That's right. And if you want to know where the printed word BAGEL came from first, they've tracked it down to the year 1610.
I love that.
Very impressive in the community relations, I guess, handbook for Krakow, Poland. And this is pretty great. A bagel is on the list of official items that you can give a woman on the occasion of her son's circumcision.
Bam.
I love that.
So that's the first instance of bagel, you say, right? As we understand it, BAGEL.
In print, yeah.
So that's fine and good. Like the people of Krakow had been eating bagels for centuries by the time we got on board. But we can thank our friends who were part of the 19th century Jewish exodus to the United States for bringing bagels to us. And at first, it was like strictly considered an ethnic food, and it was really pretty much relegated to the Jewish community of New York in particular. And they set up bagel bakeries out the yin-yang. There was at least 70 in the Lower East Side alone in the early 20th century. And there's a bagel bakers union that was formed there, and they did their whole meetings in Yiddish. So you can kind of understand if you put all that together that, yeah, it didn't really creep outside of that neighborhood for a little while.
Yeah, but this is one of the instances where I guess modern technology sort of came into play to take something wide, as is the case a lot of times. But they got bagel factories, basically. They got these machines that could mass produce bagels in the mid to late 1950s in the United States. That was a big deal. And a man named Harry Linder of New Haven, Connecticut, got a hold of these things and were like, these are great. We can make tons of bagels now. And his son Murray Linder, obviously of Linder's Bagels, invented a slicing machine. So they're pre-sliced, which is always appreciated. But usually if you get a pre-sliced bagel, it's probably not the best bagel.
But you can imagine that's when they really took off like a rocket. People
Absolutely.
were like, I don't have to slice them. They're already mostly sliced for me. Sold.
Yeah, and you can get those. I don't have one, but the little bagel slicers you see in the shop, that like the guillotine.
Oh, yeah. I don't think those work that well.
They tend to smash the bagel down,
Yeah.
and then if they don't fit in there right, it's just, I get why they use them, but the coffee shop up the street from me uses those, and I'm always like, please don't cut it. I'll cut it when I get home.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing is just a serrated knife or a bread knife, which also is serrated. That's what you want.
Exactly. And by the way, let me thank you publicly for the avocado whirligig that you got me.
You're very welcome. Have you used it yet?
I did, and what I found out on the first use is that it's not great if it's a little softer, but I bet if it's a good firm avocado, it works wonders.
It really does. And I had no illusions whatsoever that you were going to just change your whole game, but I thought, I'd give you the chance to if you wanted to.
No, I have to now because my daughter likes it, so.
Oh, okay, wow.
And she loves avocados.
Nice. So that's perfect. So it was really for her then, I guess.
Yes, that's right. So she says, thank you, Uncle Josh.
You're very welcome.
We share a birthday. And happy birthday tomorrow to you, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday to her tomorrow, too.
Yeah. I'm not sure people know that, but that's one of the very funny things about life is that my daughter was born, and I was looking up celebrity birthdays to see who shared a birthday with her, and your face pops up.
That's awesome.
It was a very, very funny day.
Was that sadcelebrity.com?
No, it was a legit celebrity birthday site. I wasn't on it. I was like, how'd you get on there?
They reached out to me sometime, and I was like, sure, I'll definitely lift a finger to be on this website. And it paid off in aces, apparently.
Yeah, it was a very, very funny moment. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
So just one last thing. Let's put a punctuation mark on bagels and then take a break. How about that?
Let's do it.
So apparently, as far as How Stuff Works reports, the idea of spreading cream cheese and adding lox to bagels was, if not invented, at the very least widely popularized in America by Family Circle magazine.
I love it.
Me too.
Good stuff.
That's a punctuation mark if I've ever heard one.
Right through that hole in the middle of the bagel.
All right, let's take a break.
This is Tamara Judge from Two Teas in a Pod with Teddy Mellencamp and Tamara Judge. Can we take a moment to talk about Chewy? I get everything for rugby from Chewy. His food, the treats, I'm constantly reordering, the toys he destroys in minutes, even his supplements. And it always shows up fast. Chewy also handles the serious stuff, prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. Their 24/7 customer service actually understands dog moms like me and cat moms, bird moms, reptile moms, all of us. And with Chewy's 1-year satisfaction guarantee, trying something new is never stressful. For life with pets, the answer is Chewy. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping at chewpanions.chewy.com/teapod.
Joy is essential, and it's also elusive. You can't order it, you can't borrow it, or simply hope it into life. But now, there's a new and exciting way to start your journey toward a more joyful existence. Joy 101. It's a new podcast hosted by me, Hoda Kotb. Together, guys, we'll have meaningful conversations with the world's most fascinating people. Entertainment legends, sports icons, wellness experts, and everyday people will share how they find, allow, and experience joy. And I'll offer some of my own tips and takes on seeking a more balanced and harmonious life. If you're craving inspiration, support, and useful tools to maximize your joy, tune into these candid, uplifting, and moving on-air chats. Joy after a breakup, joy as an empty nester, joy after a loss, joy as a caretaker. This new podcast will speak to you. Listen to Joy 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Here's something that should not be as complicated as it is: getting a racist statue removed. And here's something that should be a whole lot easier than it is: getting a new one put up in its place.
As long as there's a politics of race in America, there's going to be a politics of remembering the Civil War.
To get to school, I had to go down Robert E. Lee Boulevard. Get to the grocery store, I had to go down Jefferson Davis Parkway.
If you're an historian and you leave out half of what the history is, you're not doing your job.
I'm Akilah Hughes, and Rebel Spirit Season 2 goes deep on both of those things: the fights, the politics, the people who won, and my personal campaign to add something to the Kentucky State House that's actually worth the wall space.
We are more than our bodies. We contain essence. We contain spirit. How do you represent that. They are just fueling a fire that is really catching.
You'll see what I mean. Listen to Rebel Spirit Season 2 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
June is Black Music Month, and on the Drink Champs podcast, we're speaking with the hottest names in the culture, like Sway Lee.
Do you realize how legendary you are?
I appreciate that. I be seeing it, but I'm like, man, I still got like so much more to do. Like Prince, he dropped like 30 albums. We dropped like 5 right now. Like, that's the rate we gotta be going.
Yeah, that's a good attitude.
You'll also hear stories from industry legends and hip-hop pioneers like Fab Five Freddy.
I directed one of Nas's early videos.
Which one?
One Love.
Wow.
Yes. I literally filmed in his apartment in Queensbridge.
Wow,
his moms was still up in that apartment. Nas was just beginning to take off. His pops used to live near me in Harlem. His dad introduced him to a whole lot of, conscious stuff, and he made a young prodigy.
No matter the era, Drink Champs brings you the biggest names and the most unfiltered conversations. Listen to Drink Champs from the Black Effect Podcast Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know something we should have mentioned in the bagel segment?
What?
Bialys.
What?
A bialy is sort of a cousin of a bagel. Bialy. Never heard of a bialy?
No.
I think of the deal with a bialy is there's no hole. I'm not sure what the other difference is. I didn't look this up, but I thought we should shout out the bialy because I know we'll get listener mail.
It sounds suspiciously like an English muffin, Chuck.
No, I think it's just. I got to look it up because I don't want to misspeak. But
okay,
I think it's a bagel without a hole.
Okay, I've genuinely never heard of that by name or by concept either.
Oh, interesting. All right.
So let's talk oats then.
Yeah, oats is one of those things that is maybe in the running for oldest breakfast food because for centuries and thousands of years, people have been growing oats and eating oats in some kind of slobby porridge type thing.
Yeah, what's crazy is the oat was actually domesticated relatively late compared to like wheat and barley because the yields of the oat are much smaller. But eventually they were like, we'll give this a try too. So as far as about 4,500 years ago, we were domesticating them and eating them. But the way that they were eating oats before was they would take the husk off and then eat the whole oat.
Yeah.
And that method or that what you have after you just dehusk and leave the oat whole is called a groat.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very good.
No, well, prepare for this. Apparently, there are fats in oats, specifically in groats, that can go rancid.
Ugh.
So you could be eating rancid groats for breakfast. Had it not been for a couple of geniuses named Henry Seymour and William Heston, who developed a different process called rolled oats, which actually gets rid of those fats that can go rancid.
That's right. And then you have, kind of exactly what we have today. There are obviously different kinds of oats like steel cut and different varieties, but rolled oats is what we're eating today. They founded, Heston and Seymour founded Quaker Oats. And apparently they're not Quakers. Apparently one of the reasons, at least as legend goes, that they named themselves Quaker Oats is because they wanted to seem like an upstanding, non-fraudulent company because food fraud in the 1800s was a thing where they would water milk down and they would basically try and trick the customer into thinking they were eating a more pure product that was cut with something else, like bad cocaine.
Yeah, it makes sense though. Yeah, if you're going to sell cocaine, you should be like, this is Quaker brand cocaine. And people will be like, I can trust you. I don't need to test that first.
Oh, that's funny.
So the Quaker Man, I was looking to see who it was based on because all those things are modeled on somebody. And I came across the very famous version of it that you and I grew up with. It was painted by Haddon Sundblom, who painted the Coke Santa.
Oh, okay.
And once you know that, you can kind of see the difference, or the similarity. But anyway, some people say it was based on William Penn of the famous comedy duo Penn and Teller.
Yeah.
But apparently Quaker Oats says, no, it wasn't based on anybody. But if you go look at the old Quaker Oats, like the original ads, it looks a lot like William Penn.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I love that you sent me the that little nostalgic page on the old 1970s and 80s. They still make them, those delicious sugary flavored packets of Quaker oatmeal.
Yeah, you can see the progression of them from like zero taste to adding raisins and then all this stuff. And then by the 90s there was like a blue raspberry one. Did you see that?
No.
Grody. But I think that was on clickamericana.com, which is a great site for nostalgia like that.
I do like the overnight oats thing. That's something I didn't know was a thing until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Seems to be very popular now, but those are tasty.
All the kids these days are eating overnight oats.
That's right. It's the hipster version of hot oatmeal.
So we have to talk about coffee for a couple of reasons. I mean, we did an entire episode on coffee. We did an entire episode on caffeine, so we'll keep it short. Agreed?
Yeah, because we covered most of this. But the origin of how supposedly, and it's a pretty good story, even if it's not true, but the legend of the Ethiopian goat herder that saw goats eating what ended up being coffee beans or coffee berries, and those goats started jumping around and dancing and getting down and boogieing. And the goat herder was like, let me see if I want to eat one of those. And they realized the stimulating effects right off the bat, and caffeine and coffee beans became a thing.
Yep. That was Kaldi, by the way, the Ethiopian herder.
That's right.
So in the colonies in America, everybody mostly drank tea, even though coffee had made its way to Europe by then. But everybody liked tea. And then England began to heavily tax tea. And so they adopted coffee widely in America. It became kind of a patriotic thing to drink coffee. But then round about this time, or maybe a century or so before, depending on who you ask, coffee started to replace beer and wine as like the breakfast drink, because people noticed that you didn't like fall over on your scythe at 11 a.m. if you drank coffee for breakfast, and you would if you drank a bunch of like hard cider instead.
Yeah, drinking booze for breakfast is, unless you're at Sunday brunch, it's not a great way to start your workday.
No, not at all. So get this, Chuck. 63% of Americans drink coffee every day.
Yep.
Seems like a lot, right?
Yeah.
Australia has this just totally beat. 75% of people in Australia drink coffee every single day.
That doesn't surprise me. They do everything to the max.
Okay, so you think that's pretty impressive, though? Listen to this.
Oh, boy.
In the UK, 84% of people who live in the UK drink tea every day.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say coffee.
No, I would have been blown away.
Yeah.
No, they don't do that. But 84% of people drink tea over there, and only 63% of Americans drink coffee. I feel like I'm standing on my head right now.
Should we do OJ?
Yeah.
All right. Well, orange juice is such a staple item for breakfast, even though apparently it's over the past couple of decades, consumption of orange juice has been going down in the United States. But it's still a staple breakfast item. And this is because, again, people were drinking low alcohol booze at breakfast for, many hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And then finally, orange juice came along, but it was really expensive. Oranges were expensive. You can't grow them everywhere, obviously. So getting them, across America was an issue. But trains came along, and all of a sudden you could get oranges around the country pretty speedily. Mm-hmm. And vitamin C became a thing in the 1920s, where scientists isolated it and said, hey, this stuff is really good for you. And there's a lot of it in oranges.
And this is also another breakfast food that came about because the company was like, we need to unload a bunch of these things. And there was a bumper crop of oranges in 1916. And so orange producers kind of got together and started a campaign called Drink an Orange. And it was like, buy a bunch of oranges and make orange juice and drink that for breakfast. So that's another idea where it came from. But they ran into a problem until the 1940s, Chuck. And that was that, you could get oranges across the country and you could get orange juice kind of far, but there was a chance it was going to show up turned. It was going to spoil along the way. And so the U.S. government was like, our soldiers want orange juice, but we can't give it to them. We're going to give a bunch of money to anybody who can come up with a way to get orange juice across the United States without it turning bad.
That's right. And that's when frozen concentrate orange juice came into play, thanks to the Minute Maid Company. And I haven't had that stuff since I was a kid, but I have great nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
Because that's how we drank orange juice in my house growing up.
Yeah, I just realized that that's what's wrong with my freezer as an adult. It's missing like that Minute Maid can that was just kind of like a little blast of sunshine every time you open the freezer, you know?
Yeah, and I will say this, even though there are many more ways to make a sophisticated cocktail, if you're hanging out in the summertime by the pool and you happen to have like a blender nearby,
sure,
there are a lot worse things you can do than get some limeade or some of that strawberry frozen junk and make a big thing of frozen daiquiris, just cheapy little frozen daiquiris.
Yeah, remember that Bacardi Breezers ad from the 80s where the person went inside, when they came out, her friends were like 80 years old, and they're like, what took you so long?
The weird thing.
Oh, man. So Minute Maid, by the way, was founded by a guy named Richard Morse, who invented that process of creating concentrate from orange juice and shipping it across the country. And for the first season, they packaged for a company called Snowcrop. It took off like a rocket, and Minute Maid said, we're going to stop doing that and form our own company. And they did.
Why do they spell it like that, though? That's the one thing I've never understood.
Minute Maid?
Yeah, why isn't it spelled M-A-D-E, like it's made in a minute? That's what it implies. Why is it spelled like a housemaid?
I'm going to make something up completely, but you could also call it hazarding a guess, okay?
Sure, let's hear it.
So it's made in a minute. So you get that just from the Minute Maid together. But the fact that they spell it like that makes it seem like it's so easy to make, you might as well have a domestic servant helping you.
Yeah, you think
that's my guess? That's my guess.
Now I'm wondering what the actual definition of maid is. There may be something in there that I don't know about.
I don't think so. I think I'm right here.
And of course, I very quickly just Googled maid, and the first thing that pops up is a bunch of sexy Halloween outfits.
Halloween costumes, I'm sure of it. I'll bet, man.
Should we take another break and then finish up with a triplet of delicious pancakey, waffly, French toasty things?
Indeed I do, Chuck. I think that's a great plan.
This is Tamra Judge from Two Teas in a Pod with Teddy Mellencamp and Tamra Judge. Tamra here. As you know, my dog Rugby is like one of my kids, and I don't play around when it comes to taking care of him. Chewy is where I get everything he needs. He loves food, so always stocking up on treats and toys from Chewy, which my husband Eddie likes to buy for him. It always shows up fast, which is exactly how I like things. Chewy also handles the serious stuff, prescriptions, pet insurance, and the telehealth vet visits. And now they're opening up vet clinics across the country. And their 24/7 customer service, they just understand pet people. Plus, with Chewy's 1-year satisfaction guarantee, trying new things is never stressful. Chewy just makes caring for Rugby easier, and that matters to me. For life with pets, the answer is Chewy. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping at chewpanions.chewy.com/teapot.
Joy is essential, and it's also elusive. You can't order it, you can't borrow it, or simply hope it into life. But now, there's a new and exciting way to start your journey toward a more joyful existence. Joy 101. It's a new podcast hosted by me, Hoda Kotb. Together, guys, we'll have meaningful conversations with the world's most fascinating people. Entertainment legends, sports icons, wellness experts, and everyday people will share how they find, allow, and experience joy. And I'll offer some of my own tips and takes on seeking a more balanced and harmonious life. If you're craving inspiration, support, and useful tools to maximize your joy, tune into these candid, uplifting, and moving on-air chats. Joy after a breakup, joy as an empty nester, joy after a loss, joy as a caretaker. This new podcast will speak to you. Listen to Joy 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Mainstream media is full of cruel depictions of the unhoused. Stories that shame and blame and paint the unhoused as a monolith. We the Unhoused is the podcast that's changing that. I'm Theo Henderson, creator and host, and for years I've created a space where the unhoused and their advocates can tell their own stories. In the last few months alone, I've interviewed unhoused parents, immigrants, mutual aid organizers, veterans, the LGBTQIA plus community, and the policymakers who make the laws that impact the unhoused existence. We the Unhoused is a 2-time Webby and Signal Award-winning show with many exciting guests on the horizon. Tune in this week for my interview with Dr. Jill Wicherick, a street doctor turned influencer whose work with the unhoused community has made a huge impact online and in her community. Listen to We the Unhoused on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Here's something that should not be as complicated as it is. Getting a racist statue removed. And here's something that should be a whole lot easier than it is. Getting a new one put up in its place.
As long as there's a politics of race in America, there's going to be a politics of remembering the Civil War.
To get to school, I had to go down Robert E. Lee Boulevard. Get to the grocery store, I had to go down Jefferson Davis Parkway.
If you're an historian and you leave out half of what the history is, you're not doing your job.
I'm Akilah Hughes, and Rebel Spirit Season 2 goes deep on both of those things. The fights, the politics, the people who won, and my personal campaign to add something to the Kentucky State House that's actually worth the wall space.
We are more than our bodies. We contain essence. We contain spirit. How do you represent that?
They are just fueling a fire that is really catching.
You'll see what I mean. Listen to Rebel Spirit Season 2 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, so we're back, and we're talking first about pan clocks. You ever seen 50 First Dates?
I've seen parts of it. I don't know if I ever saw it all.
Adam Sandler's trying to attract Drew Barrymore, so he pretends like he's trying to order off the menu, but he can't read, so he's sounding it out.
Uh-huh.
He says, pan clocks, and then he gets all frustrated. It's a pretty cute little scene. But anyway,
that's funny.
That was a reference to that. Instead, we're talking about pancakes. And you said that oats are one of the oldest breakfasts. And actually, it seems that pancakes are probably the oldest breakfast of all time, because they found that Ötzi, remember our friend Ötzi the Iceman?
Oh, sure.
He had a breakfast of einkorn wheat in his stomach, and they think that he probably ate it in the form of a cooked pancake.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because you can make a batter out of some sort of grain and pour it on a hot rock, and there's your griddle right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. There are all kinds of different pancakes throughout antiquity that were made from all kinds of ingredients, depending on kind of what was readily available. You know, you even consider like a potato pancake a pancake, because the name is right there. If you're talking official recipes, it was a Dutch cook in the 16th century that I think has the first official pancake recipe. But that, like you said, that was way, way later. You know, people had been eating some kind of pancakey thing for a long, long time.
Right. And since it was around so long, different cultures kind of tinkered with it here or there and came up with like their favored version of it. So that's why you have so many different pancakes today. You've got the American pancake or flapjack, which I looked it up. Same exact thing. It's apparently just a regional difference in the name.
Yeah.
If you're in Australia, you'll eat pancakes for dessert.
Okay.
Apparently Germans eat them as strips alongside soup. Didn't know
I've
that.
never heard of that.
No, I haven't either. But the Swedish know what they're doing, because they basically go the IHOP route. And they put whipped cream on their pancakes and like sweetened fruit too.
I think that's the deal. Why it's the International House of Pancakes, right?
Oh, I guess so, because they also have crepes, the French version. Yeah, I never really thought about it before, which is kind of dumb.
I never really considered a crepe like a French pancake. I guess, I mean, I know it's similar, but I don't know. The taste is too different to me.
It's more of a pan clock.
You like pancake? What's your favorite of pancake, waffle, or French toast?
Man, why would you do this to me? I can actually tell you that French toast is my favorite, but I will eat pancakes any day of the week. Any time of day, any day of the week. I love pancakes, but the actual like delicacy, like the taste or the delicateness and just general like mouthfeel, if I can get weird and gross, of French toast is like, it's tough to beat that.
Yeah, I love all those too, but boy, a crispy waffle.
Sure.
The way those squares fill up with syrup.
Yeah.
As the little individual cubicles just waiting for me to dive in.
That's right.
Oh, God.
That's why there's always a line at the Holiday Inn Express the next morning around the always far too few waffle makers.
I remember when we toured Australia, the Virgin Air Lounge in the airport had waffle makers.
Nice.
And I'd seen them in, hotel, like the Hampton Inn, do-it-yourself thing, but I'd never seen them in an airport lounge. It was quite a little treat.
Did it have the Virgin logo emblazoned on it?
No, but I mean, since we're there, I guess we should talk about that, because apparently waffles in the early days of, not early days of religion, but in medieval Europe, at least, the Catholic Church actually had, and I'm not sure how they did this. That's the one thing I couldn't figure out, but they had biblical scenes and things on the waffle.
So they made them using etched plates.
Oh, okay. So it was in the mold.
Exactly. So it's just exactly like what we do today, except they had theirs on like long handles and they held it over a fire and then turned them over.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And so the original waffle apparently goes back, or the predecessor of it's called the obelios, goes back to ancient Greece. And it was basically, an extension of pancakes, but rather than cooking it on one flat surface and turning it over, they would cook it between two metal plates and then turn the whole thing over. And that was the predecessor of the waffle. And, give or take 1,000 or so, maybe 2,000 years. About 2,000 years. The Catholic Church said waffles are so awesome, we're going to basically make them plan B of the communion wafer.
That's right. And the little printed waffles that I was talking about, I think they started out with like, oh, hey, it's a cross or something a little, less fancy. But as time went on, they got really, they kind of went crazy with this stuff, and they would have like landscapes and family crests, and they got way more elaborate. I'd like to see, I couldn't find a picture of any of those. Did you see any?
No, I didn't, but I can imagine them.
Okay.
I can guess what they look like.
I tie the waffle so closely to that squared grid pattern, it would just look strange.
So I've got one on that. They think that the word waffle came from a derivation of wafer, right? Like the communion wafer. But I saw another explanation too, that it might have come from waffle, W-F-A-L, or gaufre, G-A-U-F-R-E, which is Old French. And in the Old French, gaufre or waffle means a piece of a honeybee hive.
Oh, well, so you got the honeycomb?
Yes.
I love it.
I do too. Those old French knew what they were talking about.
Yeah, and they were cooked back then, like you said, between these iron plates on like long-handled over a fire. I have these things at the camp now. They're not in the shape of a waffle, but they're called pie irons.
Oh, okay.
And it's the same kind of thing. You just put bread in there, and you can make little pizzas, or you can make little apple pies or whatever. And you just like spray the iron, put the bread in there, and I guess it was the same for the waffle, and then squeeze them together and then hold it over a fire and brown it up really nicely.
I've got something for you to try then that might work with that.
Okay.
It's called a chaffle.
Okay.
And instead of like a grain-based or cereal-based batter, you use eggs and cheese mixed together as the batter, but you do everything else the exact same.
So what is it? Is it just like a little square gridded omelet?
Basically.
Okay.
And easily cooked. Like you could very easily cook it in that pie iron.
All right.
Give it a shot and report back.
I will.
Okay. So there's a guy named Cornelius Swarthout, which I love. And he's actually the guy who was first granted a patent for a waffle iron back in 1869.
Like a real deal waffle iron?
Yeah. And apparently on that day, August 24th, the date that he was granted the patent, that is considered National Waffle Day here in the United States.
I love it. And as legend goes, who knows if it's true, but they credit Thomas Jefferson with bringing over those long-handed pie iron style waffle irons to America in the late 1700s. I guess he saw those things and were like, these are fantastic.
Yeah. And walking it back to pancakes for another second, one of the reasons why they seem to be so old is that so many different cultures came up with them on their own independently. Like, you can't really say that they were imported to America because the Native Americans were already making their own. They just used cornmeal.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, all of the different techniques kind of came together. And in America, we said we like this, this, and this, and you got the American pancake. But the reason I wanted to kind of walk it back is because we just talked about National Waffle Day. There's National Pancake Day too.
Of course.
But in certain countries, Fat Tuesday or Shrove Tuesday is also National Pancake Day. And that apparently dates back to medieval times, not the Dark Ages, where people would use up all of their fats, their eggs, their sugar, stuff that they had to give up for Lent on the last day before Lent, which was Fat Tuesday or Shrove Tuesday.
Makes a lot of sense.
It really does, Chuck.
That brings us to French toast. I do love French toast because you can, I love just the little cheap old sliced bread version you can do at home.
Mm-hmm.
I like going to a fancy brunch restaurant and having the big, really delicious kind of like challah bread French toast. And there are all kinds of different breads they can use and like the vanilla and this is all just making me so hungry. But
the mouthfeel.
That's twice. There's a legend that, I saw all over the internet. Apparently everyone has seen this who looks into French toast history, but I just don't know if it's true because it's not documented, and it may be one of those sort of internet stories that there was a man named Joseph French who was an innkeeper in the 1700s that made this meal, and the name, he didn't want to call it French's toast because supposedly he didn't know how to make it an apostrophe.
Right.
And so it became French toast, but that just seems dubious to me.
It does because it's contradicted by the historical record because the first use of the term French toast for a type of toast that is dipped in like an eggy batter and then fried shows up in 1660. So it would have been in the century before that guy in a book called The Accomplished I have to spell it ACCOMPLISHT Cook.
Right.
I love it. Like the S should be backwards in there.
Yeah, it totally should be.
So that's where the first use of French toast came from. And so people would say like, well, okay, so the French came up with this. There shouldn't be any really big mystery to it. That apparently is not the case because the French call it pain perdu, which means lost bread, which means bread that's gone stale. And you didn't want to just throw out bread. You would use it, and one way you could use it was for French toast. But it seemed like they were calling it lost bread after an older English tradition, which they just called lost bread. So the French didn't call it French toast, and they didn't lay any kind of claim to French toast as like their national invention. There's some other really interesting ideas of where it possibly came from, the name French toast, right?
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of French, like a French fry, is not from France either. That comes from the slicing technique. The old Irish word for to slice is French, like French that potato. And so that sort of falls in line with the same thing with French toast, that it would be a sliced bread.
Right.
I do love the whole lost bread thing, and that all makes perfect sense that you would, if bread was a little stale, if you dip it in something and fry it in a pan, you're still going to be able to enjoy that bread. It won't taste super stale.
And with French toast in particular, that name, there's some food historians who say maybe that could be it, but they suspect that it's actually marketing among some people, especially in America, to call it French toast because it makes it sound fancier.
Yeah, I totally buy that.
And then get this, dude, in Great Britain, specifically in Windsor, that's called Poor Knights of Windsor. That's what you would order, Poor Knights of Windsor, and they would bring you French toast.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Neither.
Now, are these competing explanations for that? Or is
no,
it
it's
sort
just,
of the same version?
That's what they call French toast, and it has its own story.
No. I mean the competing stories for where that came from, because one I saw said that the Battle of what is it? Crecy, Crecy in France in 1346. There were knights who were captured by the French, and they basically had to sell off their lands in order to pay their way out of that, pay for their release. And Edward III, as legend goes, gave them a place to stay in Windsor Castle in trade for their labor. So they would be the poor knights, because knights, it's not like all the knights were rich or anything like that.
Right.
And they stayed in Windsor Castle, so they were the poor knights of Windsor. But I guess that they were fed that there.
Maybe.
That's where I don't get
know
the connection.
Well, I like the other explanation
the
more
French
for that
connection.
reason. Right. So the reason why you might call it poor knights, there's another explanation, is that so if you were a landed gentry during the medieval era, you were expected to serve dessert at dinner. And knights were gentry, but not all knights were rich, as you said. And so to kind of like still serve dessert, they would serve this French toast with jam as a dessert because it was very cheap and easy to make.
Yeah.
And so it would be called poor knight.
Oh, that's interesting, because the what's that sandwich that we talked about before?
The croque monsieur?
No, the one that's made like French toast, but it has jam in it. The Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that came from that too.
I don't know, man. Maybe.
Can we finish with brunch?
Oh man, there's no way we can't finish with brunch. We need to do brunch in this one and part 2.
Yeah, I think so, because brunch is something that we had growing up occasionally, like very rarely when we were allowed to skip church growing up. I think my mom would say, we can have brunch at the house. And that was just the first time I'd ever heard that word. It didn't become like an out to eat at a restaurant kind of thing in my life until much, much later. And of course now brunch is a very trendy, like big time Saturday and Sunday weekend meal. It is, if you ever read the height of the New York brunch heyday from the mid 2000s, where just things got so out of hand with like the all you can drink mimosas and Bloody Marys, and people getting in fist fights and people waiting in line for hours, and then they're angry and they're drunk. It's just like, it gave brunch a bad name, but brunch is really one of the great meals if you can indulge a bit.
Man, one of the best brunch drinks I've ever had, or one of the best drinks I've ever had, was called a breakfast Negroni.
I love a Negroni.
And it was made with Aperol, so it was much sweeter, and I can't remember what else they put it in, but oh man, it was so good. And that was in a New York brunch place for sure.
Where does brunch come from, though?
They don't know, but the earliest we've ever found, and obviously it's breakfast and lunch, so probably 1 million people came up with it. But the first guy to write it down in print was a guy named Guy Beringer, who was a British author, and he published an essay in 1895 in the magazine, I guess, Hunter's Weekly, and it was called Brunch: a plea. And in this, he basically says, hey, we all have Sunday brunch, and it's like a huge meat-filled affair that people eat after church, and it's too much. It's too much because not all of us go to church, and some of us really drink too much the night before. So we need something else that is going to replace that midday meal. Let's call it brunch, and it's meant to basically get over a hangover.
Yeah, and that makes sense. They also trace its roots as a meal. I don't know if they called it brunch. In fact, they didn't. They called it a hunt breakfast. In England, I guess before they went out on the fox hunt, they would have these really big multi-course meals, and it sounds a lot like brunch. They would have sweet pastries and fruit and meat and eggs and sort of like a big smorgasbord.
Right.
And for the same reasons, because they had to have something large to eat, and this was before they ate big breakfasts, I guess. And in the 1930s is when it seems to have caught on in the U.S., right?
Yeah. Apparently, it was Hollywood movie stars who started to brunch, and everybody said, oh, I've got to start doing that because that sounds pretty awesome. And it is awesome. And apparently one of the reasons why it took off was because people stopped going to church as much after World War II, but they still wanted to do something, socially on Sunday mornings to replace it. So brunch kind of filled that vacuum.
I'm trying to picture the Newswire reports on that.
Church attendance down.
Yeah. Well, Rock Hudson sits down at 10:30 a.m. for a meal. What?
Right.
It is a great meal, though. Church attendance is down. Another thing that happened supposedly post World War II is when women started joining the workforce more, they were like, hey, I like to do a little something fun on the weekend too, right? So can I go out and eat Sunday brunch as well?
Mm-hmm. And I wondered because, that same working mom was still like expected to cook at home.
I'm sure.
So going to Sunday brunch was a way to give her a break.
Exactly.
And it made me wonder if that's where the origin of Mother's Day brunch came from.
Oh, maybe so.
Because I think people who don't normally do brunch still do brunch on Mother's Day,
Yeah, my brunch thing is I still always get almost exclusively breakfast things along with like a Bloody Mary. But I'd never have understood the lunch side of brunch. It's more of the time that you eat it. But, people do go in there and get like a shrimp cocktail or a sandwich, like a lunch sandwich. And I think some people see that as the beauty of brunch is that it's sort of that one time of the day you can order from both sides of the menu. Mm-hmm. But I still just do my breakfast stuff.
So I saw the year after Guy Barringer said, he introduced brunch, that somebody said, well, if you eat it closer to lunch, you have to call it blunch. And it didn't catch on for very obvious reasons.
Hey, you want to go get some blunch?
Right. Yeah, if you were hungover, it'd just make you vomit on the spot.
Yeah, no good.
You got anything else for now?
I have nothing else. I think we should do a breakfast part 2 at some point.
I agree. And since I agreed to what Chuck just said, that means listener mail is unlocked.
Yeah, and maybe people can send in their unusual breakfast traditions, and maybe we can kind of incorporate that in.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
All right, so I thought this email was really cool. This ties into our mangroves episode. This is from Caleb Vicari. Can't help wonder if you guys knew just how relevant your episode on mangrove trees is to the gaming community right now. The game Minecraft just recently got a large update that added mangrove swamps to the game.
Oh, wow.
Specifically featuring red mangroves. They're very unique compared to all the other trees in the game, and you guys have just clarified exactly why. Because of the addition of mangrove trees, we now also have root blocks upon which the new trees are elevated off the ground, just like in real life. Mm-hmm. Replanting them is also very different from the other trees in the game. Typically, you would need to break the leaf blocks on other trees, each of which has a chance to drop a sapling, which you can then plant and wait for it to grow into a tree.
Sweet.
The mangrove trees, however, will instead have propagules. Am I saying that right?
It sounds like it.
Propagules growing on them, which I believe are the living birth trees you were talking about. You can take these and plant them either on the ground or in water, which is also unique to mangroves in the game.
Neat.
Point is, the game brought a lot of interest in mangroves into me, and now you guys have amplified that, so thank you. Keep being awesome. And again, that is from Caleb Vicari. Great name.
Thanks, Caleb. Yeah, totally. And that was in World of Warcraft, you said?
No. Were you making a joke?
Yeah.
It's in Game of Thrones.
Thanks a lot, Caleb. That's pretty cool because I don't know that we would have ever known that, or heard about that. So thank you for letting us know.
Minecraft.
You told us something we should know, some stuff. If you want to be like Caleb and tell us some stuff we should know, we are wide open for that. It'd be pretty hypocritical if we weren't. You can send it in an email to stuffpodcast@iheartradio.com.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
This is Tamara Judge from Two Teas in a Pod with Teddy Mellencamp and Tamara Judge. Can we take a moment to talk about Chewy? I get everything for rugby from Chewy. His food, the treats, I'm constantly reordering, the toys he destroys in minutes, even his supplements. And it always shows up fast. Chewy also handles the serious stuff, prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. Their 24/7 customer service actually understands dog moms like me and cat moms, bird moms, reptile moms, all of us. And with Chewy's 1-year satisfaction guarantee, trying something new is never stressful. For life with pets, the answer is Chewy. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping at chewpanions.chewy.com/teapod.
Joy is essential and it's also elusive. But now, there's a new and exciting way to start your journey toward a more joyful existence. Joy 101. It's a new podcast hosted by me, Hoda Kotb. If you're craving inspiration, support, and useful tools to maximize your joy, tune into these candid, uplifting, and moving on-air chats. Listen to Joy 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.